Hey, Deuces Cracked members, it's Goldseraph here. Thanks for checking out this video. It's the first part in my first ever full-length video series for Deuces Cracked. The title of this series is Full Ring Evolution. The objectives of this series are the following. Give the viewer insights into the strategies of a professional poker player as I play sessions from 10NL to 100NL. I've been a professional player and a coach at Deuces Cracked for several years. I play primarily 200NL, also some 100NL, and occasionally higher stakes. I don't usually play too much micro stakes, but I did play a good amount of 50NL when I was building my bankroll at Merge. I deposited $500 on Merge after Black Friday, and I just started playing 50NL full ring, and I built that up into a much larger role since then. Secondly, I feel it's important for serious players to rise to 100NL as soon as possible, learning a tight aggressive style, plugging leaks, and then becoming increasingly exploitative. Basically, I think that if you table select and you get your game in decent shape, 100NL is beatable, very beatable, unless you have like a lot of leaks or just a very inexperienced, undeveloped player. I think a lot of micro stakes players become too tentative about moving up in stakes and challenging themselves. I really think that even at 150 and 100NL, you can find a lot of fishy tables, and fish are kind of fish no matter what stake you're at. So another reason I think people should move up as soon as possible is that the rake ratio, meaning how much of like each pot is raked, or like how many BB per 100 hands goes to the rake, is very bad at the lower stakes, and it pretty much just gets better the higher stake you play. For example, at like 510NL, the rake really doesn't matter that much to most of the people because it's such a small portion of the pots. You're having like $2,000 pots where they rake a couple bucks. So the rake ratios gets a lot more fair as you move up in stakes. Therefore, your win rate doesn't have to be as good. Also, since the stakes are multiplied, your win rate doesn't have to be as good. You get more rake back the higher stake you're playing. So I generally feel like between 100NL and 200NL there's a significant skill jump, and especially to 400NL there's a really sizable skill jump often. But as far as from 10 to 100NL, I feel people should approach that aggressively and try to get up to at least 50NL. Thirdly, in the series I'll be reviewing hands from micro stake players to mix it up, as well as commenting on videos of my own play. I'm going to have mostly videos of me playing and my commentary, but I'm going to take 2 of the episodes and review some hands from Deuces Cracked members in the replayer. Last, this series objective is to help players evolve into the poker player they need to be to succeed in this wintry poker climate. Things have gotten a lot tougher. You can't just play a really basic tight strategy and have a lot of success anymore. Even the micro stakes have become infiltrated with a lot of reasonably good players. Like, at least they're tight aggressive, which makes them not that easy to profit off of. So I feel that you have to open up your game a little more and kind of take it a little farther than you used to beat the micro stakes. And hopefully, as someone that's beaten the micro stakes pretty well lately and had success at small stakes, hopefully I can help you guys learn what it takes to evolve into a winner in today's full ring games. The key concepts I'm going to be going over in this series. This isn't a real structured thing. I'm not going to be doing lessons or PowerPoint lessons on these. They're just topics that I think are going to come up a lot in this series as I'm reviewing my videos, as I'm playing, as I'm reviewing hand histories. These are just some concepts that I find lower stakes players that I coach aren't really applying enough, and even myself, I have to work to apply them as much as I should. Firstly, the power of position is exponential. This is something I tell my students constantly. Exponential meaning, for example, like a linear progression would be like 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. It would just go up 2 every time. An exponential progression is like when a number is squared, be like 10 squared, squared, squared every time the jump gets increasingly large. Therefore, and the power position is the same way. As you become closer to the button pre-flop, your power of raising is vastly increases. You can start raising hands you wouldn't even consider raising from early position. And like I feel the biggest jump should be from the cutoff to the button generally, because being like an exponential progression, the last final progression of position should be the greatest. So I'll show you later, but you'll see like in my pre-flop strategy, I raise rather tight in early position, and then on the button I'm raising really aggressively. You also want to consider. Oops, I'm sorry. Went too far. You also want to consider with the power of position the post-flop implications of it. It also is something to think about when you're considering like a pre-flop play. You have to think about what position, what power having or not having position is going to give to you post-flop if it goes post-flop. Like for example, hands you can barrel with are going to be superior post-flop. So therefore, like 3-betting somebody with like ace-5 suited on the button is going to be pretty good, because first of all you're in position, which is great, but also you have a hand that plays well with position, because you're going to be able to double barrel your opponent on a lot of boards. You're going to pick up a lot of combo draws and flush draws, and you have the option in position of checking back in the occasional spot where it'll be good to just take a card. Secondly, key concept is expanding your HUD mastery. I feel most serious players use a HUD now, but I don't think they use it to its near capacity, and I think they make a lot of mistakes, like misinterpreting statistics or just making big decisions based on a really small sample, and it's often not even realize it's a small sample because they're not even looking that hard. They just see a number like, hey, this guy. I've literally seen students in hand history review sessions be like, hey, I did it because this guy has a 100% check raise flop percentage. 100% check raise flop percentage, then I look and it's out of like a sample of 1. So it really doesn't tell you anything except they are capable of check raising a flop under some circumstance. So I'm going to work on stressing that, using pop-ups, some of the customizations I've made to my HUD. Thirdly, bet sizing the quiet killer. I don't know why I just came up with that name, but it kind of makes sense because like I think it's a leak that people like really often gloss over, or they just don't look hard at that. They'll look at their non-showdown losses. They'll look at their basic percentages, like their c-bet percentage, their 3-bet percentage, their VPIP and pre-flop raise percentage, but they don't really just break down their bet sizing in all kinds of situations very often. So it's a very common leak, I think, and something that I see a lot out of other full ring regulars. Like they'll just bet amounts that just don't really make any sense, and seem like highly suboptimal. And I just think over playing thousands and tens or hundreds of thousands of hands, having poor bet sizing has got to be like a huge killer of win rate, and something that could be hard to detect. Fourthly, key concept, elimination of hand moves. If you're familiar with chess at all, a hand move is when you just kind of impulsively make a move and take your hand off the piece, and then usually immediately regret it because you're like, damn it, I made a hand move. Like I didn't think about the full implications. I didn't really have a plan. I just, for some reason, my brain thought of an option and just took it. like without really, you know, giving time to think about it, or like cross reference it or whatever. So you want to just be not playing your own hand and not playing the opponent's. You don't want to be just impulsively clicking and making decisions without thinking them through. And you don't want to be playing too many tables to where you're just making hand moves left and right. And then when you're reviewing your hand histories later, you keep saying, I don't know why I did that. I don't really have an explanation for that. I don't really know. I just did it. You want to have that happen as seldom as possible. Lastly, optimizing playing conditions. This kind of covers a wide range of things, but one aspect of that is table selection, just making sure you're on tables that suit your goals. If your goal is to just challenge yourself by playing a bunch of tough players, then I guess you would want to play tables with all regs. If your goal is to make money or increase your hourly, then you will want to select tables that are fishy. So you also, another aspect of optimizing playing conditions is managing yourself, like making sure you're not playing when you're tired, when you're tilted, when you're losing huge and just clicking buttons like a maniac. I mean, obviously this is stuff everybody knows, but I still, in my students, see very often they, again, we'll be looking at a hand and they're like, "Oh, well, I was tilted there, or I was tired, I don't, you know, my wife was yelling at me, the kids were running around." It's like, that stuff can have a big impact. If it breaks your focus or keeps you from thinking through a hand properly, I mean, that can cost you a stack easily or several stacks. So want to work on optimizing playing conditions and making sure your quality of play is paramount. Quick look at the video schedule for this series. It will be 8 videos long, and here you can just get a look at how it's going to progress. So I'll have this introduction video. I'll play a little bit of 10NL in this video. Next video will be a full session of 10NL, then a full session of 25. Then I'm going to break it up a little and do a hand history review session in the replayer with a Deuces Cracked member. Videos 5 and 6, I'll be again doing. I'll be playing 6 tables, moving up to 50 NL. Then video 7 will be a 50 NL hand history review session, and finally for video 8, I will move past the micros and play one session of 100 NL, completing our evolution up through the stakes. Last thing I wanted to touch on in this PowerPoint before I begin the play session, my HUD. You may want to write this down for reference. Line 1 is VPIP, PFR, steal percentage, fold blinds to steal percentage. Line 2 is 3-bet percentage, fold to 3-bet percentage, C-bet percentage, and fold to C-bet percentage. And I also use various pop-ups with those stats, but I'm not going to get into that yet. Lastly, this little graphic here is just all of my play on the merge network at micro stakes, full ring. As you can see, it's all hands. It's all hands, and it's just filtered to 50 NL and full table. So I also start tables and play 6-max and heads up a little bit and stuff. But these are my stats for full tables, full ring tables of 50 NL on merge so far. Got about 105,000 hands, which isn't a ton, but I think at this win rate, it's highly indicative of being a strong winner. You can see I'm playing about a 15-13 sort of style, 4% 3-bet. Trying to get my 3-bet percentage up a little bit. It's a work in progress. I'd like to be 3-betting maybe more like 5%. And C-betting just about 2/3 of the time, which is pretty normal for me. So I think I am, with my past results and these results at the micros on merge, I think I'm qualified to give this series to you guys. And really looking forward to my first series on Deuces Cracked. Without further ado, we'll be back soon with the 4 tables of 10 NL loaded up. Thanks, guys.